Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our installment of Alumni Bear Talk. In tonight's presentation, we will have Miss Rosalyn Brown presenting to us. So I'm about to start the conversation by giving you a brief introduction for Miss Brown. Okay, so Rosalyn started her career in her hometown of Columbus, Georgia, with a small regional bank and moved on to BB&T to join their leadership development program. During the almost decade with BB&T, she had the pleasure of not only being part of their wealth management division as a private banking advisor, she also had the pleasure of being instrumental in the creation of the preferred advisor role. As a part of the wealth division, she also had the honor of leading BB&T's local lighthouse projects where she worked with local organizations to utilize the bank's resources to donate only time, energy, and money to assist in the organizations in reaching their mission. Later, Rosalyn moved on to the Retirement and Institutional Service Division of BB&T, providing comprehensive retirement solutions for local small to mid-sized organizations in the area. Interested in serving the needs of larger organizations, she later joined PNC's Institutional Assessment Management Team. She is presently a regional director at the Independent Record Keeping Organization, providing a unique plan, combinations, and holistic solutions to employers to meet their retirement plans need for their employees. Rosalyn received her bachelor's of business administration with a concentration in accounting from Mercer University. She also holds the following securities license, Series 6, 7, 63, and 65, in addition to the Chartered Retirement Plan Specialist designation. Her passions encompasses three main things, which are financial health, dogs, and travel. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Rosalyn Brown, a proud Mercer Bear.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm going to start up my PowerPoint. And definitely, if you have any questions as we're going along, just feel free to interrupt. This session is for you. And so I just want to tell you a little bit about my journey. But really, the thing that I want you to get from it is staying flexible for your professional and financial growth. And so, regardless if you're alumni or if you are currently in school, I think sometimes when we first start, we have this plan and we're like, we know we're going to major in this, we're going to do this, we're going to graduate, and whatever it might be. But really and truly, opportunities are just there. And there are so many opportunities that you can miss if you are on this straight path of I know exactly how it's going to be and I know exactly the way it's going to be. And so if you approach life in that manner, one, you can miss so many opportunities. Two, you can miss so many great adventures. And three, you can miss so much potential growth that exists out there for you. So I just want to tell you a little bit. I'm going to incorporate a little bit of my story, what I've learned, and then hopefully you'll get something from it. So my Mercer story, I started Mercer. I came from Columbus, Georgia, my hometown, so probably just an hour and some change or whatever from Macon, and I was an inroads intern. And so I will say I have been mixed with luck and a little hard work. And so when you are open and you're open to opportunities, sometimes opportunities will actually find you as well. And I remember someone introduced me to Inroads, and their whole goal is finding talented youth, minority youth, and placing them into corporate America type internships. And so coming straight out of high school, before I even started Mercer, I was interning at CB&T, so my local community bank, big bank for Columbus, Georgia. And so it was great for me because it mixed my ability to work a job, make some money, learn a little bit about what I might want to do, and then also get some other kind of professional development, some good networking in, and so forth. So I spent my entire summer. I literally started working the Monday after graduation from high school and worked up until the day we moved in to go to Mercer because my parents ain't had no money. So I needed that money. But it was a really great opportunity. Met some great people, really garnered some great relationships from there. But I went to Mercer knowing I was going to study accounting and be a CPA, period. So this bank job was good because the money was nice, but I was going to study accounting, graduate, be a CPA. Done. Nothing else. So I came into Mercer under the Minority Mentors program. Great program to come in, be introduced to college, really kind of make some friendships. And my mom hates when I give this advice because I give this advice to all my nieces and nephews and cousins and all that, is You can make up a test, you can make up an assignment, you can't make up a party. And I'm not going to say party your story away, your Mercer years, but definitely the relationships that you meet as you are out having social time really will take you so much further than just being stuck in your dorm room behind the books. And that's important. Don't skip it all. But definitely place a significant amount of value on garnering and growing relationships while you're there as well. Because you're going to learn so much from those people. You're going to build relationships. I graduated in 2006, and I feel like I graduated just a few years ago because honestly, so many of those same people that I graduated with, I text at random hours. I'm like, I need to run something by you. I want to ask you a question. I've been able to lean on them, visit them, travel with them, and so forth. And so, really and truly, those aren't the people that I was studying with. Those aren't the people that were in my major. Those aren't the people that we were doing all these assignments and so forth with. They were people that I was socializing with. And I want to just remember or remind you also that there is more to school than just simply being in the books, and people will definitely remember that genuine time that you spend with them. And so minority mentors really kick that off for me, so I want to just, if you're not in it, donate some time there. And then also, I had a number of jobs. Anybody who knew me knew I worked everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean like everywhere. I love a good job. I love a good opportunity. I like a nice project. I worked at a daycare. I worked at a pest control company. I did some stuff for the club. I hosted parties. You name it, I did it. One, because never be afraid to do something new. You might find out either you like it, you hate it, or maybe you'll just simply learn something from it, but don't be afraid of that. Worked all the jobs on campus, all those kind of things. And work can definitely take a lot out of you. So don't overwork it either, because at the end of the day, you're in school to focus on school, and you're going to have a lot of years to work. And there is no more summer break, Christmas break, fall break, all those kind of things, unless you go into education. But enjoy your school time as well. But definitely get some professional experience, because regardless of what you do, if you're working on campus, if you're working off campus and what have you, you can learn so much from that, and you can take that and make it a transferable skill somewhere else. I'll say one of the jobs that I had, because like I said, I came to Mercer knowing what my major was. I don't really need to talk to y'all about it. I already know, take these classes, graduate, get the CPA, I'm done. It wasn't until I interned at an organization as a part of my graduation requirements, actually in accounting, and I realized this is boring. And I had done 4 years of studying for this. And I was like, Lord, whew, I ain't gonna be able to sit here for the rest of my days doing this job. And I remember I reached the number of hours that I needed to get credit. And I remember going to the lady and saying, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue to work here. And she said, when would you like your last day to be? And I said, today. And that's when I knew probably wasn't going to be a CPA. And but I had so much work experience that it really allowed me to have some choices. So I said, well, it didn't really matter. Every single summer, I'd intern at the bank. I actually would intern during summer, during Christmas break as well. So it was really great for me to say, all right, I'm not doing the CPA thing anymore. I just work at the bank. Like, I've always worked there. They loved me. I could easily just get a job there. No big deal. Now I got another plan. Fine. Things don't always work out the way you plan. But I also was involved in quad works. I don't know if you all call it something else now, but that was a really big part of my story and what I did. And just simply the information that I learned. It was great when I was interviewing and I could say I managed a $250,000 budget and I did this and I did that. And just so you could also put your imprint on the Mercer story of your time. So that was really big for me. I was happy about that. So take those opportunities. But one big thing too, and this is the picture here, and I remember I talked to some students not too long ago about study abroad. I had never been on a plane before. My first time being on a plane was while I was in Mercer. I actually snuck away and took a trip to New York, but this was my second flight ever. And I decided, I'll take this study abroad down to Brazil. And it was something that I could have never imagined. Um, could have never prepared for, but I learned so much, and it really fed my passion of just travel in general. And so I took that and I've gone to multiple countries. I did a tour of, I want to see every 50 states. So I completed that. But it was one of those things that so many students don't do, especially students like us. And you miss so much of that experience of seeing how other people live, of just trying new foods, of getting further away. And so I was from Georgia, so I'm from Columbus, and I went from being in Columbus to I'm only an hour or so away. So really being able to feel and garner something so much bigger than myself, and traveling along the Amazon and so forth, and just really saying, wow. There's so much more to this world than this little Macon, Georgia, than this little Columbus, Georgia, and there's so much more of an impact that you can make as well. So if you get the chance, if you can, please, please, please take the time and explore it. See if you can. If you're on the fence, you're scared, do it anyway. Sometimes you got to jump scared, because there were only 3 Black girls on the trip, me and 2 others. And so there's so many more people that should have been there, especially people who look like us. So I was Delta Sigma Pi as well, so spent time there. And then my Delta Sigma Theta, my ultimate love, pledged Delta Iota Sigma at Mercer University. And I must say, it really rounded out my experience in terms of my relationships, in terms of my ability to expand on what I did from a leadership perspective. And it really just helped me grow, but also it helped me to be introduced to so many other people that are doing so many big things. So as we look further and further of all the women who have pledged Iota Sigma, it was just a great story of, wow, I didn't know that existed. Wow, I didn't. And you want to build a circle that pushes, guides, mentors, challenges, fights with you, whatever it is, but makes you not complacent to stay on the path that you just always thought you would be on. So that is kind of a culmination of my Mercer story. And so, like I said, my story was, okay, I'm not going to do this CPA thing. Like, this is probably going to be a little more boring than my liking. I want to talk to people. I want to interact with people. Interning at the bank was cool. I'm just going to do that. Like, I got a guaranteed job. I already talked to the people. I already know I'm going to be hired. I'm not worried about it. I actually, in the midst of everything and everybody is getting ready for graduation, and I was like, I don't need to apply. I don't need to worry about a resume. I had a job. So I was going to work at CB&T. I was going to stay in Georgia. I was going to be in my hometown. They had this branch manager training program. So I'm like, cool. I'm a shoe-in because I ran the program going into my senior year of Mercer. So I'm like, this is easy. Like, everybody else stressing about if they're going to have a job after graduation. No worries here. But like I said, stay flexible. Stay flexible. Talk and share what you do, what your talents are. And I remember one of the career counselors came to me and she said, would you be interested in an opportunity with BB&T? And I said, well, quite frankly, probably not. I already got a job. I don't need to apply. And she kind of pressed a little bit, and I said, okay, fine. So she told me to send my resume to somebody, can't remember who it was. And I sent it and I didn't get an interview. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I have a job. Come to find out I sent the wrong resume. But having people in your corner, really making sure that every time you show up, that you show up with integrity. She actually fought for me to get an interview and be able to send my real resume in later. So I'm like, okay. So I get the interview, and I believe they came to campus. So I get the interview on campus, and I'm like, well, no stress. This is an easy interview because it doesn't matter if I get the job or not. I got a job. And then probably a few weeks later, they said, we would like you to come to Winston-Salem. North Carolina. Never been to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Couldn't be too bad. So I went to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. There I was in maybe a room full of 100 or some odd people, and we're all vying for this limited number of jobs for what they call their leadership development program, their LDP program. And so I'm like, yeah, this is actually getting kind of exciting. Like now I feel a little bit more excited about this opportunity, where initially I was just going to be a branch manager under this branch manager training program at CB&T. And in this presentation, this larger presentation with us, they talk about, they have all these tracks. And so they're like, there's a mortgage track, there's a track for retail, so that's where you'll be the branch manager, a track for the business, and so forth. And I'm looking and I'm like, gosh, I never even thought this far. And I said, well, I'll just put this one, this one, this one. Like, all these sound pretty interesting. And a week or two later, I got a call from the head of the BB&T's wealth division. And he says, would you mind coming back to Winston-Salem? I'd like to interview you again. And so I go back to Winston-Salem, North Carolina again, interview with him. And in that conversation, we do everything from role play. And I thought it was almost comedy that I'm role playing about wealth management, and I did not come from wealth. When my parents were both military, when my mom got out of the military, my dad retired from the military, my mom worked at like Crystals and Hardee's and all of that. Like we were not wealthy. But I'm like, I bet I could do this, so have a little confidence, a little faith in yourself. So I do these role plays. And probably a week or so later, I get a call and they say, we would like for you to join our leadership development program under the wealth track. I'm like, I don't really know what that means, but that's fine. So I accept the offer. I moved to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That was kind of boring. I studied for all of these securities licenses. We do an immense amount of planning and role playing and uncovering needs and all those kind of things. And I leave Winston-Salem. And so you see Winston-Salem. So I leave Winston-Salem, and one of the agreements to be a part of the leadership development program is you must be open to be placed anywhere in the market. And so that means any place that BB&T exists, you must be flexible and open to moving there. And I'm like, maybe. But I was flexible. And the irony of it was I got placed in Atlanta, Georgia. So I literally ended up kind of back in my hometown just about. And I worked as a private banker. And so I'm 22 years old, 23 years old, and I am meeting with clients that have a minimum liquidity of $250,000. I am helping them manage their life savings, talking about risk mitigation, talking about strategic credit. And I will say one gift that I got over time was I had an amazing manager. And he was able to reach out to me and he would say, let me tell you what your problem is. And you got to be willing to receive that. And I remember one thing he said, one of your downfalls is you don't know how to ask for help. And I'll say it's probably not the best trait that I have today. I am more of a, I can work it out, I can figure it out. But it was really something that I value. But he really helped and coach and gets me to a point where I felt competent, but where I actually was able to add value. I will say there are clients that I did their financial services back then, and this is 2007, and I still keep in contact with them today. I still know how they're doing. I still know where they are in terms of their goals, because one thing that I always wanted to do is to do things with integrity, but I always had a passion and a love to simply be able to help people. And so regardless of the industry that you're in, you can provide a service. And so, no, I'm not a physician. No, I'm not doing so many other, I'm not taking care of people's taxes and so forth, but there was a value in what I provided. And so because I did it with integrity, it's something that even now, if I get a text message from one of those clients from forever ago, I don't feel any anxiety about answering the phone. And I feel 100% confident in the advice that I gave at that point in time. But one thing that I also did is I love a nice project and I love the opportunity to solve a problem. And I have zero, unfortunately, zero issue with bringing it up to management and saying, why do we do it like this? And not only that, if you're going to bring it up to management, you need to have a pretty good, I think this, here's a plan. Here are some things that I've uncovered. And I had a number of those conversations. And one thing I will note, I didn't know this until we had a larger wealth management convention for the entire BB&T. And BB&T was at that point in time a regional bank. So we were basically up and down the East Coast, kind of over into like Alabama and so forth. And I showed up to our conference of all these wealth advisors, and I was the only Black woman in the entire bank. I think I was one of only two Black people in the entire bank at that time that did what I did. And one that let me know that I was even more important, because people deserve to sit across the table and sit across from someone who really understands them. And they also deserve to see someone who looks like them too. So it was just even more in terms of, there are so many things that need to be improved. There are so many things that we need to do here. And so I was actually tapped for an opportunity. And one thing, when I talk about being flexible, I will tell you, I've had a number of job changes, but I have never formally applied for a job that I've gotten. Typically, it is through word of mouth. It's someone who knows me, someone who knows of me, those kind of things. And so there was a new opportunity in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were going to build out a department under our wealth umbrella. And I remember my manager coming to me and saying, I have someone who wants to interview you for an opportunity. Would you be interested in interviewing? I'm like, what is the opportunity? Like, you didn't tell me anything. And he says, it's in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'll give you a little information, but I don't know much. So I have a phone conversation with someone, and he kind of tells me, we have a vision. We don't necessarily know how we're going to get there, but some of the ideas that you have, we'd love to have in Charlotte. So I'm like, okay, I guess maybe. So I get an offer letter, and the offer letter asks me to move from my house in Atlanta, Georgia to Charlotte in 2 weeks. I had no time to kind of button up many of the things. I actually had zero time to get my own house unpacked. And I just bought a house that I was in for less than a year. And thankfully enough, my mom actually sat at my house while the movers were there, because I needed to be in Charlotte for the initial kind of strategy session. Came to Charlotte, we literally just had an office space. No phones, no computers, just office. Like, we gonna make something happen. It was me and two other ladies, and we had one manager, and we just had to kind of dig in. And so everyone had their strong suit. My strong suit was more so problem solving, project management, and sales. And that's where I dug in and really was able to start this department. And we were able to build up enough in our first year that we got more money. And if you work in corporate America, you know that everything is a cost center, and they're like, how much are we spending on you? And that depends on how much money we're going to put. And we grew to a little over 20 employees within a 3-year period, just based on our performance. And typically every few months they would say, and can we add this? Can we do this? And we would track the ability for us to continue to bring in revenue in a number of different streams. So I did everything from our wealth employee banking. So we would centralize that. I did virtual financial planning for our emerging affluent, which we later called preferred banking. I did a lot of virtual planning from different places where we may not actually have private bankers, any and every project that they could think of. So basically the top of wealth would say, can we do it? And we would pilot it before it goes out into the field. So it was a really great opportunity for me, because I love a nice project. Like, give me a challenge and let me just hop in. While I was there, I actually was one of the founding members of our Charlotte Mercer Alumni Association. So if you're ever in Charlotte, they have a great alumni association. Please be sure to look them up, engage with them as well. But also, if you're moving around the country and you're outside of Georgia especially, be sure to engage, be sure to hop in. And we knew nothing about, what can we do? And I remember we reached out to Mercer and they were like, oh no, we'll give you all these resources and so forth. And it was really nice because I feel like our first event, we had a graduate who had just graduated. We had someone who had graduated like 1960 something. So it was really nice, that range. But once again, it goes back to those relationships. And then even from the stay flexible perspective and all of this, so Winston, Atlanta, Charlotte, DC, I was all with the same company. They always paid for me to move. They always set things up. And I never had to do a formal application process. When it was time that I wanted to move on from Charlotte, I looked up an opportunity that I wanted to try. Once again, I wasn't 100% sure, but I had some of the skills and I knew I could do it. And what's traditionally a big no, I decided I would do anyway. I called the hiring manager and I said, hello, my name is Rosalyn Brown. I know I don't have these skills, but I have this, 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 and this. And I would love the opportunity to talk to you more about how I can do a great job in this position. And he was kind of floored and he kind of paused. And then he said, I want you to come to Raleigh. That's where that's where he sat. And I said, I'd love to. So went on over to Raleigh, interviewed with him, interviewed with about 5 or 6 other people, had an 8-hour interview. And then they said, we'd like you to formally apply. So now I got to go on the website, do the song and dance. And within a couple weeks, I was moving to Washington, D.C. Moved to Washington, D.C. on another pilot project. And that's where we did corporate retirement in our small market. And so I'd done a little in terms of on the wealth side, you work with a lot of business owners and so forth, but not enough to be in the weeds about the details and ERISA and Department of Labor and all these things. So I was like, I bet I can learn. Like I can learn anything. And sure enough, within no time at all, I was enough of an expert that I was training other people. And you learn a lot on the job. You learn a lot by just applying yourself and figuring out what you can do. But that allowed me to continuously stay an expert. And I had people who would say, I enjoy working with you. I would never work with so and so, but now you're here, that makes a difference. Or I didn't even know we could do this. I didn't even know this was an opportunity. I didn't understand the value of this. And so those partners throughout the bank, and because I built relationships all throughout the bank, remember I worked in Georgia, North Carolina, I covered South Carolina, now I covered Virginia, Maryland, and DC for this little bitty bank. And when I started in DC, I covered Kentucky and West Virginia. And I had never been to West Virginia and never been to Kentucky before. And as we continued to acquire banks, I then covered Ohio, Pennsylvania as well. And I just rarely ever said no. I love a nice opportunity. I love a nice change. I love a challenge. And I continue to stay diligent in terms of, am I open to opportunities? And am I fostering the great relationships? And am I keeping the type of reputation where people say great things about you when you're not in the room? And so that actually took me to my next opportunity. And so my next chapter after that, so Ansley talked about I moved on to PNC. The funny thing about it is I received a phone call and it said, hello, my name is, I got your information from so-and-so. Would you mind meeting me? And when I tell you where they wanted to meet, in DC, there's a place pretty famous called Ben's Chili Bowl. There is a Ben's not too far from where I live. He says, it looks like we don't live that far from each other. Would you meet me for coffee at Ben's sometime this week? Sure. I met him at Ben's for coffee. And so if you think about Ben's Chili Bowl, it is typically the place where people like go after they've been drinking at night. Only tourists really go during the day, but we meet at Ben's, we have coffee, and he says at the end of the meeting, so-and-so was right about you. Do you mind applying for this job when we leave here? And I'm like, okay. So I apply for the job formally, and I get my offer letter not too long after that. And that's actually how I ended up at PNC. And it was a great opportunity for me because now I went from small plans to large plan markets. So I was bidding on $100 million plans and $50 million plans and so forth. And so it was a great opportunity for me to really stretch. and learned so much more. But had I not accepted that meeting, had I not, one, been nice and had integrity and showed hard work for those people that spoke on my behalf when I was not in the room, and met this random man, this random hiring manager at Ben's for coffee, which I would never in my life think that this would be a place that I would have a professional meeting. But that's how I got my job. I don't think they ever read my resume because, for the most part, I had never really updated my resume since Mercer because I had never needed to. So every single position I'd gotten, we have the interview, and then they say, "Oh, wait, please apply." And I'll tell the recruiter that we want you. And so it was just a really great opportunity to, one, stay flexible, stay open. I loved BB&T and I didn't necessarily intend to leave, but this was a great opportunity that you couldn't necessarily say goodbye to. So for me, it was just a great opportunity to remember that things aren't always going to go like you planned. So I'm not going to be a 20-year, 30-year veteran at BB&T, but at the same point in time, I had great relationships there. And the irony of it is I literally moved 2 blocks. So my old BB&T office to my PNC office was 2 blocks. But it was such a substantial difference in terms of what I could do and how I could stretch myself as well. So that was a really good opportunity. And I was at PNC loving it, doing my thing. I served on our African American Affinity Board. I did our community service. I coordinated that within PNC as well. I did so many things, coordinated with a number of different organizations that we sponsored and so forth. And then I got a call, and it was a call from my manager at the time who said, "I need you to make sure you make yourself available for a conference call on tomorrow." I'm like, "Well, that doesn't sound good." And so asked for more information. She was hesitant to give me additional information. And I received notice that PNC was selling my division. And not only was PNC selling my division, they were, or I was, a part of the sales package. So I would be moving on to a new organization effective probably like 60 days or what have you later. And I remember my only concern was, what day are we changing? Because I got a vacation plan. So my last day at at PNC, I was actually at Disney World Paris because I'm a huge Disney fan. And I literally landed one day and started at this new company shortly thereafter. But it was all about, how comfortable are you not going according to your plan? And so, because I've always been consistently okay with things not going according to plan, I wasn't even bothered. It was like, okay, got a job, figure it out when we get there. There was definitely a difference in terms of the way they do business and the products and so forth, but it was a pivot. I'm used to that. So that wasn't a big deal either. And so one of the big things that I was able to really get and garner from that too is learning from your circle. So one thing that I learned is I learned a lot from my clients. So, as I said, I started off, and this is in my early 20s, advising people who had substantially more wealth than I did. And I would make notes in the margin of things that successful people were doing so I could go home and see if I could duplicate them myself. That allowed me to personally grow my own wealth. But it also helped me as I look at some of the things that I wanted to do, some of the things that I wanted to try as well. And so, from a financial standpoint, one thing that I've always done is I've always had a passion for financial literacy. I've always done speaking about either how you can grow your wealth, how you can reduce debt, retirement planning, estate plan, all these random different financial topics. And then I've done one-on-one sessions for a number of nonprofits, especially here in DC, helping people find their budgets, balance their budgets, create a financial plan, and so forth. But professionally, I've joined a number of professional organizations as well. So I now sit on the board of an organization called Women in Pensions Network. And so these are ladies in the industry at various parts of their career. So you're providing them guidance, but at the same point in time, taking advice and so forth from them as well. So being able to figure out what's your next what's your passion, how to incorporate all those things into themselves. And so, one thing that I did not too long ago, I have been on this fire journey for years. If you're not familiar with it, it's called Financially Independent Retire Early. So, it's just simply where people are living a simple lifestyle, but doing a number of things to accelerate your ability to retire. And mind you, I had a great foundation because the same financial software that I was using to do financial planning for clients when I was 23, 24, I would do my own and I would update my numbers literally every single day, sometimes every week or what have you. And so, not too long ago, I really saw a gap in terms of what we could provide. And so I started a small group called Black Women Pursuing Financial Independence so that I could help women, especially women that look like me, to pursue their financial goals and really expand on their ability to feel comfortable as they pursue those financial goals as well. And so look for those special opportunities. Look for the ability to be pushed, to be a little scared, to try something new, to engage with people that you might not have. I saw a nice joke. They talked about in corporate America, one thing you'll find yourself is friends with someone who's 50 and 60 years old and you're 20. And it's so true, but don't look at that as if that's a problem. I'll tell you, it was those same people that said, you should be doing this. This isn't enough. You should be trying more. Let me introduce you to so and so because there's a better job out there for you. And so, really make sure that you're not saying, my plan is X. And so, I'm going to limit my opportunities. There are so many special opportunities that exist out there. There are so many pivots that you can take. And especially if you are younger, you have so many chances to change, make a new decision, try something new, expand in a different area. But even if you are not, so if you are thinking, I'm at the tail end of my career, I have 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, whatever it may be, a pivot is not a bad thing. And a change is not a bad thing because really being able to live and walk in a passion, but also being able to push yourself to change and try and learn will do so much for you in terms of your ability to get up with a certain spirit, with a certain type of gumption, with a certain type of excitement that you are continuously challenging and learning from all that is out there in the space. And so I am big on trying something new, not just being complacent in what you're doing and being open. Because oftentimes people will say, no, I'm going to do this. Well, somebody's coming to you with an opportunity, not to say that you need to take everyone, but definitely be open to that opportunity and what you can do with it. Sometimes you can take an opportunity and you can make it your own. Everything is negotiable. Everything can be negotiated. So, whether it's the role itself, whether it's what it pays, whether it's where it is, everything is negotiable. And even if it isn't where you are, it's a great opportunity to know that that might not be the place for you. Take risk. Because at the end of the day, those risks that you don't take does not necessarily mean that you sit in a point of safety. And so, unfortunately, like I said, I was loving where I was at PNC. And I'm like, things are great. I had a great manager. Things were going well for me. I'm planning all these big opportunities. I'm in the midst, I'm bidding on these big plans and so forth. And then all of a sudden, what I thought was safe, I'm with PNC, our financials are strong. And they're like, yeah, but not you. Like you're leaving. And so, even if you think you're being safe, you might not be. So, you can't be afraid to take a risk. You can't be afraid to step out and try something else. It's a great opportunity for you to always be receptive to a conversation, always be receptive to hearing about a new opportunity, not simply because you're unhappy or you're looking to move or you're looking for a change, just simply because it might be a good opportunity. So I am just big on maintaining your flexibility, always being open, garnering those great relationships. And those are going to be professional, those are going to be social. Those might just simply be someone that you see from afar and you want to be motivated by them as well. So that's just really my big thing when we talk about taking risks. Travel as much as you can. That is my big thing. I said it a little bit earlier. I didn't grow up traveling in my family. To take a vacation simply meant we were going to drive another place in Georgia. Typically, it was because it was a family reunion or somebody died. There were no other vacations. And so I remember as I was on this kind of mission to see all 50 states, people would reach out to me and they were like, oh my God, I've never been to Iowa. I've never been to Montana. Like, now you make me think that this state might actually be cool. And it's because so much we get just so caught up in, let's just stay in Georgia. Like, there are so many great things. There are so many great things in Georgia. Don't get me wrong, that's my home. But there's so much of the world to see. And I am always like, let's take a trip. Let's go. I don't care where it is. I want to see that place. I want to go this place. Travel the world. Get your passport. Take a chance. Even if you don't speak the language, learn a few things. Learn what you want to eat. Learn some directions. A little bit about some money. And learn a little bit about the culture and just go. And enjoy it, because life will pass you by pretty fast. And if you're still in school, literally, once you graduate, you will wake up and you'll be like, I don't believe I've been out of school 10 years. And then you'll be like, I don't believe I've been in school 20 years or whatever it is. And you can't necessarily see it or feel it today, but those days go by so fast. Start a business if you want to. I'm not going to tell you to start every business, and I'm not going to tell you that everybody needs to own a business. But if you're thinking about it, if you got a good idea, if you think you might want to try a little something, don't side hustle your life away. But if you have something you want to try, don't be afraid. You can always recover. Change careers. That means change jobs. That means change what you're doing. I don't care if you are an attorney and you decide you want to be an engineer. I don't care if you're a nurse and you decide maybe I want to be a music teacher. You can make changes. One, because most careers and most people have transferable skills, but also you can be great in many different things. And so never feel compelled to whatever it is that your degree is in, that you have to stay there. You can be great in many different places, and you can reinvent yourself many different times. Make meaningful connections. And so, one, I'll say, don't just connect with people just to profit and get something from them. Feed people as well as you let them feed you as well. So, meaningful connections where sometimes you're giving and getting nothing, but don't always just be the person that's reaching out because you need something, want something, need an introduction, need a job, whatever it might be. Learn from someone. Just contact for information. Just make those connections, because maybe it's someone says things that you're like, goodness, you post a lot of good content. I really enjoy. I would love to connect with you more. I'd love to learn more. Whether it be maybe you want to volunteer with them, you want to donate some time, some energy, some information, whatever it is, but make those meaningful connections. Everyone is not your friend, so everyone doesn't have to be a friend. Some people can be colleagues, some people can be mentors, some people can just be the people that motivate you from afar. But make those meaningful connections, because that's going to be how you continuously grow. And join that organization. And so there are so many different organizations, and it really doesn't matter what it is that you're passionate about or what you're good at. There's some organization out there for you. And that organization, one, is going to create some of those meaningful connections. But what they're also going to do is help you as you continue to grow. So they're going to find opportunities for you. They're going to challenge you, because there's going to be people that are better in that organization than you are. And so regardless of what that organization is, join. Because you can always leave it and go somewhere else, but just take that risk and be flexible. And so even if it's something that, you're doing something today. So if you are a physician today and you're like, I might want to be a CPA, join the National Accounting Association and join. You don't even have to be in that position today. You can join just to learn. You can join to network. You can join to get some of the continuing education. You can join so many different things in order to learn and continue your overall growth, because you never stop learning, and you don't need to have formal education to continue to learn. And so you don't have to go get another degree, another degree, another degree. And you don't even have to continue to get a new degree to do something different. Sometimes just those organizations, those connections, and your ability to identify your transferable skills will help you move to the next organization. So hopefully, you all are in that same situation where you're starting to think, well, goodness, have I missed out on an opportunity simply because I wasn't flexible, because I was like in this straight and narrow in terms of I know what I want to do, I know where I want to go, I want to sit here, I want to stay in the state of Georgia, whatever it might be. But for me, my story continues. And when people say, well, are you going to be here for long, or are you going to do this? I don't know. But I'm open. And so I have a rough plan of what I want my story to be, but that is not necessarily where things will be, because at one point I was moving literally every like 2 to 3 years, and people would say, well, where are you going to be next? I don't know. But as long as you can continue to strive and be open for those changes, because those flexibilities will allow you to do things that can strengthen your financial life. So that might be living an unconventional life that allows you to save more, that allows you to accelerate your ability to retire or make a pivot professionally, but also maintaining your flexibility in those relationships that you have. That if someone says, I think you would be a good fit for, don't turn down that conversation. So that's all I have for you. Any questions?